Welcome back to Coaches on the Beach, and today it marks our 100th episode that we've recorded here, and we are so thankful for all the support we've gotten over the couple years that we've been doing this. To mark this 100th episode, we decided to bring on someone super special to the podcast. Welcome back Beth Van Fleet from Georgia State. We get to talk to her more about her program and also the landscape of the NCAA Beach world. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you again next week for another one.
Oh man. So Beth, you're at work. I assume there's lots of summer things to be doing at Georgia State. What does that usually entail?
I usually start by taking my dog out to the sand courts and letting him run around. I throw sand, he chases it. We come in, he's somewhere around here. He'll make an appearance. And come in, we make some coffee and we get ready for the day. My 10-year-old, my daughter just started school, so that means I drop her off at about 7:10 and I'm here by about 7:30.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so the mornings are early, which is great because it's so quiet here. I can get a lot done.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a lot of planning, getting ready for fall, and a lot of AVCA conversations right now, getting ready for the Pairs Championship. And coming up in the next couple weeks, I get to have my first call with NCAA for the committee there.
Whoa, NCAA committee. Beth, you're
Mhm.
so big time. There's a lot of hats that you wear. How do you kind of keep everything straight? How do you run your group at Georgia State, prep for the NCAA tournament committee, and also help be our AVCA representative?
Well, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to put on the new hat for the NCAA committee, but I feel like there have been a lot of great coaches who have kind of already blazed the trail. So I feel like I'll be able to learn a lot from them and kind of step into that position. AVCA has been amazing. I've learned so much from that. And I think we've got the majority of the hard work behind us for the Pairs Championship. And at this point, it's just refining, taking feedback that we get every year, trying to incorporate it into our planning for the upcoming year and making it run as smooth as possible. So that tournament and that event definitely takes time and planning, but not nearly the amount of planning and time that it took a couple years ago.
Yeah, we're all excited for some of the new format stuff. So, for those that maybe don't know, tell us a little bit about the Fall Pairs Championship, how the bids are going to work mainly, because I think that's
Yeah.
probably the biggest
Yeah.
new
So
confusing part.
So there's a couple of big changes this year. So the first one is the Pairs Championship is still a 64 pair bracket, but it will be single elimination this year. Still playing to place, but instead of the first year we did traditional pool play, the second year we did modified pool play. I think we did that for 2 years, and now we're going into single elim, working to model it a little bit more after an NCAA bracket, quite honestly, and working to create some of those first day, first round matches that'll be a little bit closer and being able to highlight them a little bit more. So really looking forward to that. We took a ton of feedback as far as the qualifiers. We built that up a little bit last year, and that was very, very popular with a lot of the coaches. So we limited the true volley bids this year to 8. And now every region, so Western, Central, and Eastern, all have 7 bids. So there will be there's more qualifier activity. We felt like that really built the excitement around the tournament for all of the athletes and the programs. And it really gave people, got to post their "we punched the ticket" pictures. And so just trying to create more opportunity to earn in the actual season than from the previous team season before.
Yeah. Hopefully promote a little bit more of that fall competition piece, right? I know
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah.
currently a battle.
And I think one of the one of the big changes that we're going to make with the bracket, instead of playing the semifinals and the finals on Sunday, we're going to play the semifinals on Saturday night. So the
Ooh.
people playing the finals don't have to play right away on Sunday morning, and we can showcase all 3 of those matches. And we're going to work that so that hopefully there's some sort of barbecue or food truck or something like that around the semifinals, so teams that are still there can actually come out and watch and support.
Yeah, if we go get a bid, I'll be happy to grill out. Me and
Yes.
Charlie can probably man 2 grills and cover a good couple hundred people worth of
I
food
love
there.
it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I think it'll be super exciting to have the fall. Kind of an aside that maybe I just kind of thought of your AVCA role might have included. were you at all assisting with some of the Stephen F. Austin news?
I wish I could say I was assisting. I was mostly just cheerleading from the side for Jamie. I don't know how much you know about him, but he has been working tirelessly to support programs, to protect the sport, to grow the sport, and he worked. I think he even testified in the case for Stephen F. Austin. Like he was very active in working to protect our game. And yeah, he's been just constantly paying attention to programs and trying to be a resource for any coaches that feel like they need a little bit of support.
Amen to that. Huge shout out to Jamie Gordon.
Huge shout
Because
out.
Dr. Jamie Gordon's been fighting not just for beach volleyball, but indoor volleyball, men's indoor volleyball. But you know, we had to sadly at one point, I don't know, a couple months ago, announce the closing of the Utah and SFA programs and Jacksonville State. Pretty stoked to now talk about San Diego adding, which is
Yes,
huge,
that was
and
huge.
SFA coming back.
Concordia and Austin is also adding. So we're
Great.
definitely seeing some growth in the sport, which is a really nice breath of fresh air right now.
Yeah.
Agreed. I'd say, you know, that's positive news in what has been a rather bleak,
Yes.
you know, and I think one of the episode that'll come out right before yours is probably Alex Luna, who's had one of the darker perspectives on some things.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
even he's talking about how much we can continue to grow, and so now seeing programs like that come back is really exciting. So
Yeah, it is.
shout
And
out to
San
ABC.
Diego. Yes, and the San Diego position, I feel like everybody's like, yeah, I could take that job.
Beth, did you
That's
live in
probably
San
very
Diego?
appealing to a lot of people.
You're a San Diegan for a little while, right?
Yeah, I was out there for about 8 years. I loved my time out there, and it was super fun getting to play AVP, and I love being back on the East Coast.
We're gonna start the rumors anyway that you're applying for San Diego, and
Okay.
Michael's just gonna cut the part where you said you like staying on the East Coast. We're just gonna trim it. We're
I
gonna see how much.
love starting harmless rumors. It's one of my favorite things.
Perfect. So that's a little bit about the AVCA fall hat. Georgia State, right now, obviously, we want to highlight your guys' program. Went to the NCAA tournament again this year. Have done a phenomenal job growing. We saw you were working USA NTDP not too long ago. What are some of the things that you and your group with the Sandy Panthers are looking to incorporate into their game on this year?
Yeah, so first of all, I feel like I've gotten to work with some phenomenal coaches this summer through different clinics in Canada with Beach Nation, through USA. It's been really fascinating for me to be 14 years into this and having conversations thinking, how come I never thought about this before? Which I love that about our sport. And I don't know if you guys have that experience. You guys have probably got it all
All the
figured
time.
out, but that
What do you
was
think this podcast is for? You think we're doing this because we got it figured out? Come on now.
right. So we have 10 freshmen coming in and we have 10 sophomores, and then we have 6 upperclassmen, two of our seniors won't be playing this fall. So we are going to just go head first into learning and growth and training. So Bella and I have been talking about how we're gonna revamp some of our training and really working to build the base. I think we got really lucky last year with our freshman class. Every single one of them played a lot and got a ton of experience and contributed to the body of work that our team put together. So I feel like oftentimes we'll have a freshman class that not all people are contributing, and last year that was not the case at all. So I think our sophomore class is a little bit stronger than sometimes what we would have had in the past, especially with 5 of them. So just a lot of learning still. I feel like last year, Colin, you know this, like we didn't have the same lineup until we had to put one in for conference and we couldn't change it.
Scouting
So
was great.
it's so
Great
neat
scouting.
to
Thanks, Beth.
it's so neat to be able to draw from everyone's talents. And I think we really did a nice job of that last year, which is going to set us up well for this year, but there's still a lot of learning. It's, again, one of those seasons where like, well, we have one pair coming back.
Yeah.
And so figure out the rest of it. And kind of, we have a couple of pairs. It just kind of depends on who they played with and what tournament. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just going to be, especially like in the fall, we need more time training. So in the past, we've done in our 8 hours, like an hour and a half twice, and we're going to go 3 1 hour sessions just so we're working and learning in different groups and things like that. So I think from a leadership perspective, we work really hard as a staff to empower the athletes on the team and really give them the ownership. With a little bit of a younger team, we'll drive a little bit more in this first semester. So I think we get to be like bad cop a little bit more. I guess that's probably the very formal term. But I think that will be fun to step into a role a little bit more of taking the reins as opposed to leaning into the senior leadership, simply because of the three of them. Like I said, two of them will not be playing. One's playing indoor this year, so we're super excited to get to go watch her. That's Courtney Smith. And
Oh, okay. We'll put her on my scouting report for our indoor team.
yeah, definitely. I'll let you know.
If I
But
remember correctly, she's pretty thumb up.
Courtney she is unpredictable. There's not much that she doesn't do physically. So I'm really excited to watch her play indoor. She came in yesterday and was just like, the speed of the indoor game is so fun. So yeah, she's having a blast so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think it'll just be a lot of learning for all of us this first semester.
Yeah.
What are your rosters looking like? Are you guys?
We got a full roster this year. We got 14 people. You know, we're celebrating over here. You know, bringing in 5 freshmen is something that is very much needed for our program. It kind of has initiated a new like found life in us of like, all right, here we actually go. Like it's starting now. And then we got 2 transfers, which I'm pretty familiar with them, so that will be good as well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But we're still celebrating having 14 people and not having to limp into a game and not forfeit a match.
And I think it's so incredible. I mean, I think the juniors level has always done a phenomenal job of training and having people ready to come into programs. But I really feel in the last couple of years, freshmen are just coming in and not like they're ready to be here, but they're pushing for positions. And so I think that just elevates the collegiate level tremendously as well. So I'm excited for you. So we'll have the 5 freshman classes, 5-person freshman classes.
Yeah.
Which I feel like sometimes that means more tiers, but it's good because that's also growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, crying's good for humanity.
There is crying in beach volleyball.
There is crying in beach volleyball, and dare I say, the timing of it is encouraged. There's a lot of really great things that come from we were talking about this. I was just in Chelan last week and just hanging out with a lot of great coaches up there. And one of the things we were talking about is it's not who peaks at the right time. It's who bottoms out at the right time. Who has the worst weekend of the season earlier than the last weekend.
Right. Exactly.
You want to bottom out either right before your conference mid-year or right before your conference tournament. Like don't
No, and it was so interesting last season because so many teams, as soon as they got really hot, they cooled off the next weekend.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something beautiful about hitting that low kind of early or right before everything matters.
Yeah, like the final weekend of the regular season or something like that.
That's a great time.
Yeah, who would ever have a struggle weekend? Oh, Georgia State's gonna be bad this year. No, I don't think that's how that's gonna work. I think that was a good weekend.
It was, it was again like throughout that whole. We changed our lineup. I think every duel in the last weekend of regular season. It was great to not have a full plan ever. And I'm sure for the athlete, I know for the athletes, sometimes it was stressful, but we talked so much about always being ready. If you're someone who needs a little bit more stability, come talk to us about that. But for the most part, just be ready for a new person every match.
I'd say it worked out pretty well because you guys cleaned up at that conference tournament, right? You won your 4 matches and got the heck out of there.
It was fun. It was definitely, I mean, you know how competitive it was this year, Colin. Like I feel like every year Sunbelt gets more and more competitive. And it's so fun to be part of that growth.
Don't let me put words in your mouth, but you just got lucky again, right?
Oh my God, Michael. Don't give her the out. Don't give her the out. She'll take it.
I would say definitely luck is involved. I think we also kind of the flip side of what Colin is saying, having that last weekend of regular season being emotionally hard, kind of allowed our team to be like, oh no, we're gonna go fight. Like we're gonna get up and we're gonna fight. And so I think that was really fun to see the grit and the focus in their eyes. But it was playing Sunbelt schools this year. It's like, oof, okay, we barely got by. We barely got by. And every school really. And so I think it was, again, just a little bit of a younger team, but we learned a lot.
Yeah. Talking about younger teams, I mean, we had a pretty young squad last year. You know,
Yeah, you guys had freshmen everywhere.
yeah, we had 10 newbies. So it's a
Yeah.
lot. But one of the things that I thought was coolest about it from like my perspective, having been here and then gone for a little bit and then back again, was it was an opportunity to really, I hate using the term revamp because it's not like we had anything
Right.
wrong. Re-energize maybe.
Yeah.
What are some of the things for you what's a big change for you this year compared to early on? You've been at Georgia State for 14 now?
Yeah, 14 years. Yep.
14 years. So I assume the systems you had in place maybe didn't experience any real big overhauls for a long time. But what are some of the bigger changes that you're experiencing this year comparatively to your early time?
That's a good question. Was one of the things we've done is we always have at least one person on our staff who was on our team or who has played in college space. And so this year, the past 2 years, having Delmo and Anna was phenomenal because both of them are such like, I don't know, Jedi mind trick kind of players and just so passionate. And they also were just incredible at the administrative side of the job, like all of the work. And so this year, having Bella and RA step into those positions will be a lot of fun. It'll be a much more like creative training environment. I think, Bella is very matter of fact. We talk a lot about how our coaching styles contrast a bit. And so I think that will be really helpful for the players on our team who want more direct information that get a little bit annoyed with me asking them questions. And I do give answers, but oftentimes I'm trying to, what's the discovery here? What can we learn here instead of me just giving you all the answers? And Bella will just say, do it like this. Do you want to win or do you want to lose? I love that straightforwardness for her. So I think one, I'm going to learn, I'm going to get to do a lot more blocking work this year. Normally our assistant coaches are the blockers, like from Kirsten to Tiff to Delmo. So I'm usually with the defenders and Bella's going to take the defenders and I'll get to focus a little bit more with the blockers. I got to work with Dancer last week at Chula Vista and I like in 2 sessions with him leading blocking, I was like, okay, just taking notes nonstop, and so for me, that's like a fun space to revisit, revamp, get back into how are we training it a little bit better. I've gotten to work with Jake Gibb a couple of the USA seasons, like last 2 seasons. And so just trying to learn at that level what the game is like and how they're teaching at the juniors level, how he sees it at the most elite level. So I think for me personally, that kind of keeps the game always interesting, is learning how to train a skill a little bit differently. Revamps are like overhauls for our team. We're back down to a 16-person roster. So just with budget and all of the other pieces, wanting to have some space to grow in the future and making sure that we're bringing people in that are going to be a good fit for our culture. So I think with 16, it will be a lot of fun. There's going to be, again, 14 for the fall. So just a lot of great reps for a lot of the new kids.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. Is there a big thing that sticks out, maybe that blocking has changed from your time as a split blocker on the pro tour and
Well, when I was
now?
blocking, you weren't allowed to put your hands across the net. No. I think and honestly, I learned so much of it from Delmo. I just think the blockers create so many more problems for hitters these days. And one of the things I loved when I was working with Jake, and he said, like, very simply, the goal of the blocker is to create hesitancy in the hitter's mind. Like whatever it takes, if you can do that, then you can start changing the decisions that the hitter is making. The cues that Dancer was using was step close, hips and hands. And so he's got his blockers waiting and making a last second adjustment wherever the attacker step closing to pop in front of them, kind of mimic that step close, and then get in front of their hips and their hands. So I think it's just, there's so much that happens. There's so much work that goes into blocking with such little reward. Um, like the defenders are back there making sick digs, and the blockers are like, yeah, I'll set you again, I guess. Like, well, I don't know. And so it's so, you have to constantly remind them, hey, she's only making that dig because of what you're doing at the net. And so I think that piece, just the dynamic movements that we're seeing blockers do is phenomenal. I actually spoke with Beige, who is one of our indoor coaches earlier, and we were talking about Courtney, and she's like, it's really incredible having Courtney in the indoor gym with her blocking because she does so much with her independent hands. And I was like, I've never thought about that before. But as a beach blocker, it's just you. And now she knows, hey, someone's going to come next to me and we're going to be twice as big. And so I think that's something that beach has done a really nice job of evolving as a sport for blockers to connect their eye work and their hand work and getting a little bit more independent hands. And I know that was something I worked on as a blocker, but I never really excelled at that.
Yeah. It's one of those phenomenal examples of indoor helping beach and beach helping indoor.
Yep.
Like, I think one of the reasons that beach blockers began doing more independent hand reaching outside the body thing was we watched indoor have to evolve to the tempo of an offense. Like, men's indoor got so fast that pins were so low.
Yeah.
75% of the time. So rather than just going up and being like, oh, my middle should close this, it's like, my middle ain't anywhere near here. He's not going to make it if they're
It's
in
one-on-one here.
Yeah. And so then they started making those big moves, and then Beach picked that up because we're like, wait, we're always so low. And
We're
then
always, yeah.
I would say Beach has gotten very efficient at it because there's maybe more scenarios, right? An indoor solo blocker is pretty much only on a pin, whereas our
Right.
solo blockers are in
All
this
over
spot,
the
this spot,
place.
this spot, this spot, this spot, and
Sometimes there's no blocker, I do love when we get the indoor kids out in the stand, they're like, you got one up. I'm like, the option is none up or one up. Like you don't have, there's no holes. It's just all the seams are
Maybe
there.
that's what's next. Double
Yeah.
blocks.
I've with the jump setting, do you ever think we'll get to a part where there's two blockers and whoever's the off block peels off?
I have suggested that multiple times. And honestly, when Angel and Bella were playing in our ones, we called it French fries. And the goal was for both of them to start up blocking, and then they could both pull, or one could pull, or one could stay. And
Yeah.
we practiced it, but it didn't ever really take. But
The
our call
idea
was French fries. They had Chick-fil-A was one of their plays. It was very food related.
the idea, right, is like, oh, well, you can actually eliminate the number of shots that you can expect to see.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never see a cut shot if you're both at the net. So as soon as I'm the off block, as soon as I'm the off block
Right,
person, I can 99% guarantee it's going to be a high line.
right. So
So
just
now
start running.
the
Just start
question is, can I get there? Right? That
running.
becomes the next challenge.
Right.
Is like, am I the athlete capable of getting to that ball? But you've totally eliminated decision making, which I think is, from a
Right,
defender standpoint, like half the battle. Is
right.
it going to
Like
be
you're just
highlighted?
presenting a problem that someone's got to solve while they're in the air, which
Yeah.
is the whole point of the game, I think.
Yeah. Are there things that you feel like, from a USA standpoint, that we're adapting to in a volleyball fashion that will, um, present unique challenges for our country, or do you think we as a nation tend to play catch up a little bit more to what other people are doing?
I love this question. I probably am not well versed enough with what everybody's doing around the globe. I feel like that's much more, I feel like, Colin, that's like your wheelhouse. From what I've seen, I feel like, I, it's so interesting because so I played professionally from 2003 to 2010. And when I first started learning how to play, Angela Rock, I think it was Angela Rock, said, hey, in Brazil, they run this like play where they pass to one antenna and hit from the antenna or set to their partner on the other antenna. So that was like probably happening in the 2000s, probably the 90s, probably the 80s, and yet somehow it's just coming back and we're doing the same thing, but now we're jumping when we do it. And so I feel it's almost like a fad, right? Like nothing, it's not inventing the wheel, it's just taking a wheel that was already made and we're just refining it a little bit. And so I think generally when I'm watching, and especially from the international kids that are playing in the college space, I think the US is far, far, far behind with our serving. I think that you see international kids that have a lot of dimension, a lot of variety with their serves. And I don't think in the US that we spend a ton of time focusing on it. It's much more of like, where do you want your serve to go to run the defense? How do you pair those things together? Whereas like Alu, who was on our team, was like, no, they're not going to be able to hit the ball back. Just let me go serve. Okay, great. And so I think serving is a big space that we can still work to develop. I think there's a ton there. I think it's so interesting because it's probably the most boring skill to practice that it's very hard for younger American players to stay focused, like really understanding what it is to dive into a craft. And it's not something that gives them an immediate reward. So everybody wants to do the fancy bells and whistles with setting and hitting because that's going to be posted on Bounce Beach or somewhere on the Instagram. Whereas if you have a really effective serve, awesome. But it's not something that, people are going to highlight. So, and I've always been really impressed too with how LMU serves. Like there's so much variety. And I think that was something obviously that John Mayer does, but I think Betsy Flint, like even when Betsy was playing, she was a phenomenal server and she had so much variety and so much depth when she was in the college space. I remember her serves. And so I think then you see that playing out at LMU, and they also have a whole bunch of international kids coming in. So I don't know. I think it seems like the easiest skill to have the most control over, and yet somehow we are a little bit behind in that. I don't know. What do you think?
I wholeheartedly agree. We spent 90% of our year serving last year. In fact, to the point where I got a little in trouble with our athletes because we didn't practice enough blocking defense. I'm not getting any better at blocking. Well, if you serve well, I actually
You
don't
don't
care.
have to do any of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my big pitch. They begrudgingly did it, and I don't know. We definitely had some strong servers. It felt like.
Yeah.
But no, I mean Betsy and Emily, one of the only AVP pairs ever I can think of where both partners have won server of the year.
Right. Right.
Like I think you saw April win it. You've seen obviously K Spear on the men's side win it, or Buttinger or Patterson. You very rarely have seen a partnership that have played together be on it and win a lot of points that way. And so seeing M Day and Betsy, one of the things I definitely remember about them was they were all float servers, but they were big in between the shoulders. Um, and then whereas this year you saw, I think Julia Scholes won it, was the AVP server of the year last year.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, who's her partner? Betsy Flint.
Right.
Gosh, who would have ever thought? But Julia was doing it with a topspin, right? And mixing up depth, location, things along those lines. So it'll be interesting to continue to see how that
Oh,
evolves.
please not. Yeah. Well, and I also think we have so many athletes who start at such a young age and then their shoulders start hurting. And the first thing that you do is dial back serving because that usually hurts the most. And so I think there's, some give and take there as well. But yeah, serving is like our split blockers are like, there's my dog.
Hi, Brooks.
He's just protecting the office. I saw
like
something on Instagram that you're supposed to always thank your dog for barking to, protect you. So I've been trying to, instead of telling him to stop talking, say thank you.
Thank you, Brooks. I'm sure he speaks great English.
Yeah,
I'm sure he speaks great English.
he does. He definitely does.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So serving. Is there anything else on serving?
I guess I'd be curious how you find yourself attempting, we think as college athletes, they're very dedicated athletes. Some of them play internationally. We
Yep.
probably suffer with the same challenges of any other coach, which is motivation. How do you kind of go about motivating your athletes with skills that maybe they're less intrigued by or less passionate about?
Let me think about this. I don't feel like we have a lot of kids that struggle with the motivation piece. I think one of the biggest changes, kind of going back to the earlier question, one of the biggest changes we've made is, in the first couple of years coaching here, if someone said they needed a mental day, I'd have been like, what is that? And now it's like, oh, if it's too much today, like we'll come watch film or, go recover, go do something like that. So I think we've had several kids who have struggled a little bit with maybe burnout. So not so much necessarily motivation, but maybe a little bit more of like the burnout side, and just having honest conversations about it, giving them space, like playing around with different solutions that might work. I think that helps a lot. We ask our kids to take off summer as much as they can. And of course, you're going to have the Ayla Johnsons that are going to do double days all summer and train and then transfer to go play indoor at UNCW, which I'm so excited for her. But a lot of them will take the summer off. And I think, especially for the international kids that go home and play at a super high level all summer and then come back, it's so hard for them to just be in that grind all year long. So when we had Elise Saga on our team, when she came back in the fall, we would actually just slow her down. So she'd be doing half the reps that most of the other teammates were doing just because she needed a mental break from the game. And I think that sometimes creating that space and giving that space allows them to appreciate the sport a little bit more.
Is there any concern for them? Like, once again, this is a from them perspective, so you might not have the perfect answer, but of if I come back and I haven't done anything all summer, these freshmen that haven't stopped playing all summer, right? The ones that, you've got Kate Cunningham showing up in September. That girl's been on a beach volleyball court she hasn't missed a day probably in the last 2.5 months.
Right.
Her natural touch on the ball is just going to be better than, some of your returners.
Yeah, I think there's space to have that concern. Our team also knows, like, they've all been the freshmen that came in that played all summer and are gung-ho and so excited to be in college. And then you have to figure out how to manage your own schedule and how to tuck yourself in at night without your parents there. Like, there's like real life innocence hits freshmen. And I think at that space, it's more of like, hey, let's all support each other, because this is a huge transition emotionally for the incoming freshmen. And quite honestly, like, sometimes you see that show up in how they're playing. For the first time in a long time, they're doubting if they're good enough because they've been the best for so long. And all of a sudden, there's a handful of people on the team that are going to be able to compete or be better than them. And so I think that's a great opportunity and space for the team to bond a little bit and like recognize, hey, the freshmen coming in that are training super hard are definitely going to be a great push for us to continue to elevate our program. So instead of making them small, instead of seeing them as a threat, like, use that energy as motivation, help them stay on that track. And then our, people who have taken the summer off, we give them this, like, hey, it's going to be ugly for a couple of weeks, but once you get your touch back, you've done all the reps, you know how to do the game, and then your curve will take off pretty quickly. And so I think it's a lot of that coming back. Some of, we have Cabri who lives in Iowa that she got into dental school and has been shadowing dentists all summer, probably does not have a beach court. There's two around her town, so probably hasn't been in the sand a lot. And so we just ask them to make sure that they come back with the functional strength that our trainer gives them, and that if they come back where the basic strength is there, then we can build on that. Which I also love that we are a spring sport, and I feel like a little bit more competitive in the fall now with the AVCA stuff, but I think it's nice to say, hey, you're a student athlete and you don't have to be great for an entire semester. We just want to build every day to get a little bit better, or, try and get to good before February.
Yeah, find a way to maybe still have some passion in December.
Yeah.
When it maybe is more important to take a less of a break.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
try to find some sand late December, early Jan. That way, when we show up in January and we're in 20 hours, it's nothing too crazy, things along those lines.
I think we're gonna wrap up here. So Colin wanted me to tell the story of what happened the first time we recorded, all the way back, episode 9, I think it was I didn't record my own audio. And so we finished up that podcast pretty late on a Tuesday night, and it was supposed to come out the next morning at 8 a.m. So I was up till about 1 a.m. whispering into my mic as my wife was sleeping in the room next to us, trying to get my audio to match exactly what I was saying. And luckily, we didn't have the video feature at that time, so like you couldn't tell it was me at a different time. But we've
Goodness.
had some really great moments here. And
Hmm.
we did ask you the first time you were on is what do you want to see next? I feel like you're wearing a lot of hats, so like what should we expect next out of NCAA beach volleyball instead of what do you want to see next?
Okay, so out of NCAA beach volleyball, you know, it's just gonna be interesting. I think there's so much around lineups. I think that's gonna be the biggest topic. With regard to, are we gonna lean into true volley? Are we gonna continue to say that our current system is broken and we yet don't have a solution, or we talk about solutions, but we don't put anything into action? So I am really hopeful that we'll be able to switch over to true volley or switch over and run some fall events with the golf concept. I think for so many years we've talked about it, and a couple years ago I was like, I don't think it's broken because we haven't come up with anything else better, you know. And of course the best thing is for coaches to do it honestly, and for coaches to understand that we don't know what's going on in another program. So it's very hard to say this should be that pair, that should be this pair. Um, but I think personally, I started off very skeptical towards True Volley, but I think right now where we are, I love the idea of leaning into that a little bit for maybe a fall season or even for one or two NCAA seasons, and getting rid of the rule of the one up, one down, and just, hey, you put your pairs together and wherever they fall, and play it like that. I think it takes a lot of the gaming out of it from coaches' perspectives, and we could then decide if we like another system better. So I think that's going to be a big focus. And I'm sure other people will come up with other ideas, but that seems to be a constant discussion that I have seen, you know, wearing the AVCA hat for 3 or 4 years now. I feel like that's something that comes up every year.
No, I know we're supposed to be wrapping up, but Michael, I gotta just while I got Beth on the phone here, I gotta just say, and I've been one to participate in a lot of lineup conversations over the years.
Mm-hmm.
This last year and how much
Mm-hmm.
has changed with collegiate beach volleyball, the last thing I could care about would be a lineup rule. Like
Okay.
truth be told, when we get to convention and we sit in that room, if
Mm-hmm.
it's 2 hours of lineup conversation, I'm gonna lose it. When
Okay, I'll
we
squash it. What do we need to talk about? What do we need to talk about?
my first thought would be saving our programs.
Oh yeah. Yep.
My
Saving
gut
sport.
reaction would be like, how do we continue to move forward as a sport and not suffer steps back? I think
Mm-hmm.
the three programs getting cut this year was concerning to say the least. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad that one school didn't get away with it.
Yep.
Um, I really would hope. I don't know how much is happening over at Utah. From what I understand, the athletes are less inclined there to fight for it. And we're
Mm-hmm.
lucky enough that at SFA there was a group of rowing and beach volleyball athletes. I think honestly, multiple programs probably is what saved that
Right.
program. Um, but continue to find ways to do it so that we're not, I don't know, for example, staying in a dorm room in your conference tournament, right? What was that?
I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah.
I
I made a
think
fort.
I think there are lots of ways to make it as positive as possible, and we definitely, as staffs, probably tried to do that.
Yeah.
I think from a student athlete experience perspective, if you looked at any other program in any other sport, tennis, golf, like that would be on the line of pretty
It's
crazy.
interesting because in the Olympics they stay in a dorm room
Yeah.
and they sleep in a
Yeah.
twin bed. And I just
Yeah.
got back from Chula Vista where we slept in a dorm room on a twin bed with one pillow.
I,
So
I
I think
don't
I
disagree
go
with
back
that
and
part.
forth, but I see where you're coming from and I appreciate it.
I think if we were making if we were cutting in just that spot,
Yeah,
it'd be one thing. I
right,
think when it's a culmination of a lot of budgetary struggles that we meet, like I think it's just a challenge. I think it's
right.
if that was the one time a year that we did something semi ridiculous and like made it a super positive thing, I think that would be one really awesome thing. I
Yeah,
think if it when it's the it starts to feel a little bit piling on when it's like
that's fair. That's fair.
the last thing.
So I do have a question.
Oh gosh.
One of the discussions that came up, so this is going to go the opposite direction of luxury. Um, one of the topics that came up, I'd love to get your ideas. Instead of having 16 play dates, what do you think about if we just said you can play 35 duels from this day to this day for regular season?
Would this day to this day be longer than the current amount of days that we're offered?
Might start a little bit earlier in February because initially we started late in February so that the schools that did hybrid indoor and beach would have time to run their indoor season before they got into the sand. That's not really a thing anymore. And so I think we could start earlier in February. Everybody can go to Florida. It's going to be warm there most of the time. But and this is just, it was like somebody, we were talking around the cafeteria and I forget who proposed it. But I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting idea. So I want to give credit to whoever said it, but right now I'm just not remembering exactly
It
who it
sounds
was.
like a Brooke thing. Was Brooke
Brooke
at the
wasn't
camp?
there. No.
Okay.
So I
I
kind
was
of
like, it
like
sounds like
that.
a Brooke Niles thing, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I liked that idea. I thought it was interesting to start in mid-February and go through season. And I think one of the arguments was that way you could run, um, a crosstown rival duel on a Wednesday. And
Mhm.
that doesn't have to be used as
Full date.
a full day of competition. So I don't know. That would be interesting to pursue that. But Colin, I will make sure that first and foremost, as much as I can, I will make sure that as much as we can, we talk about preserving the sport and building the sport.
Yeah, I guess along those lines, I think that's a great idea. The intrigue would be is can we get closer and closer to a mandated schedule? Like I think that's
A mandated schedule.
mandated conference
No,
schedule. No,
no,
Beth
that's
Beth
a bad
shake
idea.
Beth waves her finger and says no.
Yeah.
Um, even with the dates, even with the number of matches,
Maybe with the number of matches, I just think the ASUN was the only conference that did it and they got rid of it as quickly as they could
and why did they get rid of it?
because it limits your strength of schedule.
Okay,
And if your ability, if your only chance of making it to the national championship is winning the conference tournament, that's one thing. But if you spend over half of your season having to play your conference tournament and you can't go play games that are going to help you earn an at-large bid, you're a
sure.
little bit handcuffed.
I can get behind that. I guess one of the things that, and this is very prevalent with our conference, is like
Mhm.
attempting to Foley, Alabama is very far away. So
Mhm.
hosting our conference mid-year is a very expensive trip.
Yep.
It was suggested by somebody, no names, that a team that found it to be too expensive just didn't play those dates.
Right.
And my only concern with that is we want to continue to incentivize schools to support our sport in a
Sure.
feasible way.
Did you see the email that came out this week?
I did see
Okay,
the email that
good.
came out this week,
'Cause I think we're trying to,
which is wholeheartedly agreed a great step in the right direction. But I don't ever want to I want to get to the point where we're putting just enough pressure on where like, hey, we actually do need a budget that supports our sport.
got it. Yeah.
And
And that makes sense.
having a conference require something that costs money is still good. We
Right.
just need it to cost maybe a little bit less than 20 grand. Like that's
Right.
just
Be a
really
little bit
the
more central.
I think that
yeah,
would be my concern with the 35 play date or 35 games instead of play dates is you're going to start to see a lot of those games move away from weekends of like
Yeah.
the 4 games in a weekend, and for the smaller budget teams like those are what allow us to get to go to all these different tournaments and move around a little bit more,
Right.
because we're not traveling as much. And if those start to disappear on the weekends, which I don't know how long it would take for that to happen, but if they start to disappear, then we would run into a little bit more of an issue.
Yeah.
or if we
Yeah.
could
It
maybe
was I liked the idea.
Yeah.
I
35 games, but you got to play 20 something to be officially a sport.
yes. Yeah. Like, I mean, there would still be the the minimums and the
Mhm.
maximums.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was an interesting
I do like that
tangent
there
from the
are other
normal
ideas
talk of
coming out
lineups.
about it, though, because I do think
Yeah.
our season's way too short, like date wise, and it goes really, really fast, and you barely have any chances to have off weekends before you're in your conference tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
We love it. And we very much appreciate you, who you are, what you do for our sport, what you do for your program. And so I hope the last 5 minutes wasn't too much
No, it was fun. It was
too
fun.
much challenge for you.
And I think the feeling is super mutual. It's so neat to have a podcast that is just for beach volleyball coaches in our space. And I think we all get to learn so much from each other, from the work that you guys are doing. So thank you so much.
Thanks for being another guest and another Georgia State Panther.
I love it.
Showing up
We're
on
trying
coaches.
we're trying to win. We're trying to win the rally.
All right. Well, hopefully we don't retire too soon and we can keep bringing on GSP people.
We'll see ya.
Thank you guys so much.